Letter 11. On Blushing. A conversation I had with your promising young friend immediately showed me how much intelligence and talent he has, and indeed how much progress he has already made. He has given us a sample of himself, and the rest of him will be like it, for what he said was not prepared in advance. He was caught off guard, as it were. When he began to collect himself, he blushed deeply, for he could not rid himself of the modesty, which is such a good sign in a young person. I suspect he is one who will retain this tendency even when he is fully grown up, and has rid himself of every fault. For natural flaws of body or mind are not removed by any amount of wisdom. What is innate and implanted may be mitigated by treatment, but never overcome. There are people who, though utterly self-contained, still break out in a sweat when they appear in public, just as if they were tired and overheated. Others get weak in the knees when they are about to give a speech, or their teeth chatter, their lips clench, their tongue trips. These things are not eliminated either by training or by any amount of practice. No, nature exerts its force, using these flaws to remind even the strongest of what their nature is. I am sure that blushing is one of these things too, for even in the soberest of grown men it still arises, and suddenly too. True, it is seen more in the young, in whom the native heat is greater and the complexion more supple, but it also affects veteran soldiers and the elderly. Some people are more dangerous when blushing than at any other time. It is as if they had put all their shame into the blush. Sulla was at his most violent when blood had risen to his cheeks. Nothing was softer than Pompey's face, yet every time he was in company, he blushed, and especially during his speeches. I remember how Fabianus blushed when called to testify before the Senate. In him, this modesty was strangely becoming. This does not necessarily happen because of any mental weakness, but often because of the newness of the situation. People who lack experience of something may be undismayed, and yet still affected in this way, if their body's natural disposition tends toward blushing. For just as some people have sluggish blood, in others it is more lively and energetic, and rises swiftly to their face. As I said, such characteristics are not cast out by any amount of wisdom. If wisdom could erase all defects, it would have nature itself under its charge. All contributions made by the circumstances of one's birth and one's bodily temperament will remain with us after the mind has at length managed in large part to settle itself. None of these can be ordered down, any more than they can be summoned at will. Actors imitate these emotions. They portray fear and trembling. They make a show of sadness. But when it comes to bashfulness, their means of indicating it are to tilt the head forward, lower the voice, and fix the eyes on the ground. They cannot make themselves blush, for that can neither be prevented nor induced. Against such things, wisdom has no promise to give, no progress to make. They are under their own jurisdiction. They come unbidden, and depart unbidden. Now the letter is asking for its closing. Here it is, and a useful and salutary closing too, that I suggest you fix in mind. We should develop a fondness for some good man, and keep him always before our eyes, to live as though he were watching, and to act, in all things, as though he could see. Dear Lucilius, it was Epicurus who gave this instruction. He gave us a guardian and a tutor, and rightly so, for if a witness is present when people are about to commit a wrong, they usually desist. It is important for the mind to have someone it can respect, someone by whose authority it can make even its privacy more reverent. Blessed is he who improves us, not only when present, but even when imagined. Blessed too is he who can revere some person so deeply as to bring order and composure to his existence just by remembering that person. One who is capable of such reverence will soon be worthy of reverence himself. Choose Cato then, or, if you think Cato too stern, choose Laelius, a man of milder temperament. Choose anyone whom you admire for his actions, his words, or even his face. since the face reveals the mind within. Keep that person in view at all times as your guardian and your example. I repeat, we need a person who can set that standard for our conduct, for you will never straighten what is crooked unless you have a ruler. Farewell.